The IRGC was formed in Iran after the large-scale protests of 1979, known worldwide as the Islamic Revolution. The Shah of Pahlavi was overthrown, and Ruhollah Khomeini took his place, marking the beginning of the IRGC's history, a unique force that today de facto controls all of Iran.
Iran's law defines the IRGC as an institution commanded by the supreme leader, whose goal is to protect the Islamic Revolution of Iran and its achievements. The IRGC aims to spread the Islamic Revolution's ideas abroad and support the military in defending Iran's independence, territorial integrity, and Islamic system.
Before the Islamic Revolution, Shah Pahlavi had his own secret service, Savak. Agents controlled people and society through terror. We've already told you about them in previous episodes. After his escape, the new leader, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, established his own institution, the IRGC. Initially they were revolutionary cells supporting the radical Islamic movement. Khomeini organized them into a single force intended to serve as a supplementary wing of Iran's armed forces. In practice, the IRGC became guards who suppressed any signs of disrespect towards Islam. So their main task became ensuring that Western culture and ideology did not infiltrate Iran.
The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps was created to preserve the revolution's order, preventing the United States from organizing a counter-coup, as the Islamic Revolution was highly popular at the time, supported by many young people.
All members of the IRGC worked on a volunteer basis. Still filled with the spirit of the revolution, the young members of the new institution were certain they were serving their homeland. Under Khomeini's orders, they crushed any opposition or dissent. The Iranian leaders started investing in them, gradually turning them into a powerful military force. In less than 10 years, it became more powerful and advanced than the country's own armed forces.
Of course, they were created to protect Khomeini. They feared former Shah's agents would assassinate their leader. Apart from this, they became a parallel branch of the Iranian army, gaining more power.
Iraq invaded Iran. The Iran-Iraq border was flooded with blood. Iraqi leader Saddam Hussein had territorial claims to his neighbor. But behind the facade, there was a desire to gain control over the country's oil fields. Tehran understood this and quickly sent the regular army to defend. Along with them, IRGC units were also deployed. The war with Iraq was a key factor in the development and success.
They went to war highly motivated and were far better than the regular Iranian army. They, along with the military, drove Saddam Hussein out.
The IRGC defended the border, constantly receiving new weapons and funding underground groups in Iraq to destabilize the rear. The war with Iraq lasted 8 long years. During this time, Iran gained many enemies in the region. Everyone wanted a piece of the prize. Especially Saudi Arabia, which considered Tehran its main enemy. To protect against possible attacks, the IRGC created underground groups in almost every country in the Middle East. More on that later. The IRGC proved themselves well during the war with Iraq. The Iranian supreme leader realized that people like them needed to be invested in and developed. The IRGC controlled its own army, navy, air force, and even managed Iran's missile research. In addition, they had intelligence services and a powerful arsenal of various weapons. Iran spent 2/3 of its defense budget on maintaining them. In the 1980s, over 125,000 people worked for the IRGC. The members came from various professions. They even had a propaganda department that published around 10 magazines in various languages. They were distributed in neighboring countries, showcasing the Islamic Revolution's benefits. They even reached radio, where Iranians were constantly bombarded with the idea of Islamic fundamentalism.
After the war, the IRGC had the money and resources to transform the country. They were involved in almost every process in Iran, starting with basic road construction. The government constantly provided them with various contracts to strengthen the IRGC's position.
In addition to propaganda and the military, the IRGC controls the Basij. They are government-loyal individuals who essentially act as a militia. They were created for control inside the country. Basij members crush any uprisings, opposition or dissenters. They act as a police force. They are trained in special camps scattered across the country. Overall, such a militia has more than 5 million members. Among them are tens of thousands of seasoned fighters ready to join the IRGC ranks. A sort of reserve force.
The IRGC uses the Basij for staged propaganda events to support the regime. For example, when the supreme leader calls for a rally against Western countries, the Basij are the first to show up. They often urge or even force others to participate.
Everything related to internal control within the country is the work of the Basij. For subversive activities abroad, the IRGC has a separate department. It's called Quds. Khomeini created it to spread the Islamic Revolution across the Middle East. Some researchers believe that Iraq, fearing a revolution in its own country, started the war against its neighbor. It was the Quds force that participated in that war, and they continue to support Shiite organizations and parties not only in the Middle East but across the globe.
The United States officially recognizes the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and its Quds force as terrorist organizations. This is the first time in U.S. history that Washington has officially designated a military unit from another country as terrorists.
The U.S. only designated them as terrorists in 2019. Overall, they are viewed as hostile in countries like Israel, Saudi Arabia, Canada, and Bahrain. For Iran's political leadership, the Quds force is crucial because, with their help, they can engage in conflict with nearly all countries in the Middle East without involving official Tehran. The White House dislikes this game, as while the Quds force fights, for example, in Syria against Bashar al-Assad's regime, they also undermine American efforts and serve as a powerful weapon in the hands of the Syrian dictator. By gradually destabilizing other countries, Iran calmly continues to exist and spread the idea of the Islamic Revolution in its region.
The IRGC has repeatedly proven to Iran's political leadership its competence and ability to respond to any situation. It has reached the point where political leaders cover up their activities and even help them break into the country's political sphere.
In 1982, Israel entered the territory of Lebanon. Resistance came from small Shiite factions. Khomeini used this to his advantage. He sent them weapons, money and military support. The Quds force units sent their merged small groups into one incredibly powerful force. This led to the creation of the Shiite paramilitary Islamic organization, and later the party, Hezbollah. In many countries like the IRGC itself, Hezbollah is also considered a terrorist organization. The Quds force supplies them with money, weapons, and political support.
The IRGC has supported and continues to support terrorist organizations like Hezbollah, Pakistani jihadists, Hamas, and many others. The United States has long designated all of them as terrorist groups.
By controlling terrorist groups from various countries, the Quds force can carry out nearly any subversive operation. To facilitate this, special training camps have been set up in many of these countries, as well as in Iran, where the IRGC and Quds force train future soldiers and terrorists. They finance all this from their own budget. The training primarily focuses on guerrilla warfare.
These camps have special tracks where recruits train. They run obstacle courses, shooting at targets in different locations. It's crucial, especially when preparing for urban combat.
These bases and training camps started appearing in various countries: Yemen, Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bahrain, and many others. Their number is constantly increasing. The Quds force unites more Shiite groups around itself, ready to fight at any time, anywhere.
By creating such bases and camps, Iran aims to strengthen its allies and its influence there. Iran can easily control them, and within the country, there are so many bases that they can easily deploy entire contingents from neighboring countries.
Since the 2000s, the IRGC has firmly entrenched itself in Iran's economy. They control energy corporations, major banks, telecommunications, and real estate. After Khomeini's death in 1989, they began to expand their power and today are practically a state within a state. Under the current leader, Ali Khamenei, the IRGC has been given free rein, and under his leadership, they operate practically worldwide.
We know that the IRGC units are present in many countries across the region. As a result, they transformed into a military force with significant economic power. Across Iran, they control various companies and corporations.
They've entrenched themselves so deeply that no construction contracts or the opening of offices, shopping centers, or even airports can happen in the country without their control. In 2003, Iran planned to open the international airport named after Khomeini. But the IRGC didn't approve of the contract terms, so the opening was delayed.
There was a very big dispute there. The agreement granted a Turkish company the right to open stores in the Europe. But the IRGC intervened in the contract. They weren't happy with the terms under which they could earn a share of the sales. The IRGC cancelled the deal just before the airport opened. It opened a year later, with the IRGC taking control of the shops.
The IRGC had one controversial figure in its history, Qasem Soleimani. An Iranian general, he led the Quds Force since the 1990s. He was the second most influential person in the country, after Khamenei. Soleimani participated in the Iran-Iraq War. He fought in Afghanistan and Syria, on the side of Bashar al-Assad. The US personally suspected him of creating and funding at least 5 terrorist groups worldwide. Among them were also those we mentioned above. When in 2019 the US designated the Quds Force and the IRGC as terrorist organizations, Qasem Soleimani was also added to the blacklist. Although the US admits Soleimani aided in fighting the Taliban in Afghanistan and that the Quds Force helped push out ISIS in Iraq. US analysts believe that under Qasem's leadership, the Quds Force's operations and influence grew so large they threatened American interests. This explosion on January 3, 2020, the assassination of Qasem Soleimani. An American drone fired a missile at a convoy of vehicles. 7 more people were killed along with the general. For Iran, this was a powerful blow that only intensified hatred toward the Western world.